easy with the environment of the Linux, how the Linux works, what is the background services, what are the different commands, how to create files directories, how to actually just a second, man. Prashant is I think on some chat. 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay. Now we will see. We are going to start with the basics of Unix and Linux. Which takes up this takes care using these many topics are there. First, what is Unix? What is Linux? How they came into existence? The history of Unix and Linux, and what are the different properties? Means what are the different features of Unix and Linux, which is making them so popular. Then we will go to the components of the Unix and Linux operating system. How the Unix operating system is, or Linux operating system internals are made up. How their components are made up, and what is the task of each of these components. Okay, these are the things we are going to see. So by this, you get to idea what are the different tasks, what is going in the background, what is exactly Linux. You are just using the Linux as a word, but what does this Linux stands for totally in the format of task, in the format of the component. That we will going to know. After that, you are going to see how to create files and directories. Few of the small commands like ls, pwd, which make you uh, uh, aware of the Linux environment. Okay, you will get the awareness what is going, what are the different commands in the background and how they work. Okay, after that we also go through these filter commands. These actually advanced filters and simple filters are actually used in order to filter the data from the file. One important thing in Linux is that Linux treats everything as a file. Even normal file is also a file, directory is also a file, directory in Windows is also considered as a file in Linux. Apart from that, even the devices are also considered as a file. Getting? Even the devices which you consider as a device in Windows operating system is considered as a file here. Bhupesh, getting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that way. So these things you get to know. After that, you see filters, and later we come to go how to create users and how to create users and groups. Means any server which supports multiple users, we need to create logins for each of the users. Means you have to create a user for them to log in. Okay, so how do I create these things? Later, after user and the group creation and other commands, we come to how to change the file and directory permission. File permission management in Linux, how the file permissions are managed. Okay, how to file permission management. Apart from that, changing the group ownership and ownership of the file, these things will see. By this, you get to understand how different Linux options work. Later, after this, we'll come to the next level, which is called Linux administration or standalone administration. This administration here is actually used. These components, these are the topics which help us to configure a Linux system, standalone system, not a server operating system, but how to configure a single PC, not a networked PC, single PC. Okay, how to create file system, how to create partitions, how to format those partitions, and how is the Linux booting. Means what is the Linux booting process. Since you are switching on your laptop or desktop or server, by the time a screen appears which asks us to enter your username and password to log in, and in between the starting of your system, laptop or desktop or any server, and to the login process, what is happening in between, how is the system coming up. Okay, and the different run levels, you will get to know all these things. Okay, apart from that, how to manage groups, how to manage users. Okay, how to manage groups, how to manage users, and how to manage different access control lists. These are also a kind of permission, but advanced permission kind of. Okay, later how to deploy RPM and M server. The purpose of this RPM and M server in Linux is, main purpose of this is in order to install different applications. You want to install HTTP server, Apache web server, or Tomcat server, or FTP server. Okay, these are the different applications or packages which need to be installed for them to work. Okay, you want to configure a system or a server as a DNS server. So DNS server you want to configure, but in order to configure the DNS server, you need to install the DNS server packages. In Linux, packages are software of the DNS. How do I manage those packages? How do I install them using RPM command and M command? So these two topics are actually for package management. Okay. Next comes
Okay.
the logical volume management. Okay. Upesh, this is the overview I'm giving. When you actually start the original class, we will be taking of care of all this in very detail. Okay. This is just for
Yeah.
just to give you an idea what for we are learning and what are the different concepts and in which level you are learning. There are three levels:
Yeah.
basic level, standalone level, where these are the single use system configuration. What is LVM? LVM stands for Logical Volume Manager, which I have highlighted here. See, in a normal CPU, in your laptop or a desktop, wherever you are working or actually installing Linux, problem is that you have created two partitions. Suppose you have created three partitions: C, D, E. Okay. In C you have
Okay.
installed Windows operating system. Okay. In D you have installed Linux operating system. Okay. Fine. Suddenly, what is the you are actually finding short of space. Means you are actually finding less space. You need to increase the space of D because you are Linux, you are installing many of the applications, other things. So when the hard disk fills up, and you can add another hard disk, but you can't migrate the data from the one partition to that new hard disk and work directly. So there should be some way. There should be some way where you can increase your hard disk partition without affecting the application or the operating system. This is done using logical volume management. Okay, partition
Okay.
size is
Okay.
fixed. Partition size is fixed. You can't increase that. In Linux also, if you create a standard partition, it is a fixed size. Suddenly that standard partition used for some you want to deploy from a database application. You are actually using that. You have created a database application and all the data of the database is being stored in that specific partition. Suddenly you are finding short of space. Problem is that then how do I increase the space without affecting the application? Is there any way? Bhupesh, you have any idea? In Windows, you can do this like this.
No, actually, I guess
Basically, no.
if you
So, but
if
Linux
we
has a, tell me.
okay, and if
So,
we
basically,
need to reboot the whole system.
okay, let it be. But thing is that you can, if you have deployed your operating system installed before installation, you have partitioned using LVM, then these partitions can be increased dynamically on runtime, in runtime. No need to take downtime, down the server, do the other thing, then up the server. No, not required. On the runtime, in runtime you can do it. Increase the partition without affecting the application nor the OS. Okay, that is the main
Okay.
beauty of Linux operating system. What is this RAID levels? Okay, RAID levels stands for redundant array of inexpensive or independent disks. Okay, what is this? Whenever you are having a hard disk, suppose your system has a hard disk, your laptop has only one hard disk, I suppose. Okay, problem is that all the data you have saved into the single hard disk. What happens in between you're using after a few days when you are actually using your Linux operating system, any hard disk, any system, hard disk crashes, what happens? Is your data recoverable?
No data loss.
There will be data loss.
There is-
Obviously, there will be data loss. There is no chance of recovery. Maybe there are other tools, but also with not exactly 100% success that you can recover. There are many other options. Your server will be down
Yes.
totally. Your operating system is down, means server is down, means your company is actually having a lot of problems because you can't have the server down. So how do I protect the data? That data protection is actually implemented using RAID. Actually, what is RAID? You have multiple hard disks. You will have multiple hard disks in the server,
So
physical
these are
server. You
virtual
have
hard disk or
no, the physical hard disk only. Physical
physical
hard
hard?
disk only. Physical hard disk only. Suppose what I'm saying is that I implement RAID between an original hard disk which I'm using. I also create a new hard disk of the same space and connected it to the server. After connecting, I implement RAID levels. After RAID level is implemented, whatever data is writing to the first hard disk, application or your operating system, will be directly mirrored or replicated in the second hard disk.
Okay.
Okay, by this what happens? Even the one hard disk crashes, data is still present as it is. Exact data is present in the second hard disk. That way I'm able
Yes.
to protect. This is the requirement. In real time, you may get the problem that hard disk space is finished. I need to add a new hard disk or able to update or increase the partition size of the disk space. That is done using LVMs. Okay. What is the purpose of RAID? You actually install more than a single hard disk and implement RAID. What is that? Whatever the data which is being created or copied to the first hard disk will, as it is being implemented or created in the second hard disk. Even with the loss of one hard disk, you have the data, right? System is up and running, right? These are the things which require in the real time. Okay. What is swap management? This is the memory, virtual memory management. In Windows, you have virtual memory. You know that? You have in Windows virtual memory, but you don't specify when you are installing the operating system that this is the virtual memory. It is done automatically with the operating system, right? Windows. Here, the same thing is called swap management, swap. Okay, virtual memory in Windows is equal to swap. And thing is that Windows does the virtual memory management or creation of virtual memory during the installation of operating system automatically. But in a Linux, it should be managed manually during operating system installation and later also. And what is this process management, man? Any idea? Process management.
Process management may be the process been taking to the complete process.
Okay, I will tell you. Whenever you are creating a task or you are executing a command, suppose you wanted to execute a search command in Windows. What is the Windows search command? You know that. What is the Windows search? You have created some file or directory or some other project file. You have put it somewhere. You forgot. You want to search it, right? It happens, right? No?
Yes.
See here. This is the thing. See here. You are having search this PC is there written here.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You give the search. You just give the file name here and press enter. It start to search in the file system, right?
Yes.
Okay. The same way, when you are actually giving a search in Windows, it can be a command or anything. It can be a command or anything. Whenever you are giving a search command, which is called find in Linux, a system, any task you submit to the system to be performed, if task will not be just executed like that. If first the task will be submitted to the kernel, kernel will, on behalf of you, kernel will create a process for it. Process means it is a living instance of live instance of a command executing in the CPU. Okay, what is the process? Live instance of a command or a task executing in CPU, right? That is the process, right? Okay. So for the process to be executed, first the command to be executed, kernel creates a process for it with a process ID, small process ID. It will create a process ID. It will create some resources like memory. It will allocate resources for that. And after creating all these things, this process has to be submitted to the schedule or submitted to the CPU, right? CPU is the one, central processing unit is the one which is going to execute it, right or not?
Yes.
Okay. So this execution means there are multiple processors. There are hundreds of processors, maybe even thousands of processors created in a server operating system. And there is only one CPU or two CPU maybe. Think there is one CPU or two CPU or 10 CPU in the server hardware. So how do I allocate 1000 processors to these 10 CPUs? Okay, there may be processors which will have priority. Means this process is actually having a lot of high priority, should be submitted first. Okay, how this all created? How the process priority is managed? This is all how the process is created, how the process is executed, and how the process is scheduled and submitted to the CPU, and how the result comes. This is all comes in the process management. Getting what is the meaning of process management?
Yes.
So next thing is backup and restore. So what is this backup and restore? You are actually having a user which is connected to server to do some project. Think you are creating some mobile project or something. The project details of the data, everything is actually in the your partition, your login. Maybe your login is called Bhupesh login. You are given, you are logged into it. You are doing your project. Apart from that, your data from different projects and different users congregating to create some important project. What happens? Some in case there is any problem with the system, operating system, these things. Your data need to be protected. Project is not a simple thing that re-execution is possible every time. So you need to take the backup of whatever you are creating. Okay. How do I take the backup of these things? Your data. How do I take the backup of your important files of project or other things? Not the operating system. This is the data backup of just not the operating system or other things also. User defined data, which is it. This is actually taken care using backup and restore. Getting me? Now we
Yes.
are coming to the next thing. What is the purpose of this scheduling job, automation of jobs? Okay. Suppose you wanted to make backup, man. Okay. Your company is running from Friday to Saturday, Monday to Friday. Your company, everybody logs off at 9 p.m. Your company stops working. Means no person is working there after 9 p.m. Friday. Monday to Friday, you are actually having things. Okay. After Friday, the load on the system will be less. You know that. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. At that time, I can schedule a backup, or I can schedule a restore. Whatever happened in this 1 week, this is a banking sector. Suppose this is a banking sector. The bank starts from Monday to Friday or Saturday. Sunday is a holiday for bank, and everybody cannot. Only online customers can log in. Remaining all will be done. At this Sunday, I want to schedule a backup job. Backup means I want to take the account backup, details, all the backups, or some other backups. Okay,
Yes.
do I need to go on Sunday? Do the administrator need to go on Sunday morning 9 o'clock to schedule this backup?
No,
Is this
he
required?
can
He can do
he can
it remotely
automatically,
also. Okay,
yeah,
even
remotely.
remotely also. Okay, even remotely also he has to execute it manually. He will connect remotely, but doesn't mean that it doesn't operate. It does all manually only has to done. Even if he connects remotely, he has to execute the commands or set up how to take backup depending on their requirement, their scenario. Okay. Why should I not schedule this in a way it is automated automatically? Means don't need for the admin or the person who is managing the server to log in remotely and start the backup process. Why can't I automatically, you know that 9 p.m. Sunday I want to take the backup. You can automate this task in such a way using shell scripting and other command, cron tab command, edge jobs are there, so that it takes automatically backup, and in case there is any problem in those backup, it will report it using a mail. Sir, this success or failure of the backup. Means success also will get a mail that the administrator who is managing this backups and all will get a mail, sir, I have backup started at 9 p.m. Taking the backup stopped at 11 p.m. And after that success, everything is fine. There is no problem. And the admin is very happy. Okay, that backup is done without any issues. Okay, this is also one of the things. So you can actually schedule some jobs, automated some jobs, so that it will execute at a specific time, and after the execution, in case there is any problem in between also, it can be admin can be updated using a mail, sir, this backup stopped here due to this problem, this is the mail, please take care. Right?
Okay.
This is
Yes.
required reality. That is how the scheduling of jobs will be done. Automation of jobs, just the schedule means at this specific time this script has to execute. How do you do all those things will be there. Okay.
Yes.
Now we got to see standalone administration. Now we are seeing Linux server administration. What is this Linux networking? How to configuration of network? What is a network? That all details will be taught to you. How to set IP? What is how to set the IP? How to set the thing? After that, what are the different network tools in your system? How to check the IP? How to remote system? Okay. After that, we are going to show how to configure FTP server. What is FTP server? File transfer protocol. You download data from movies or audio, video, software from internet. These are all FTP servers configured somewhere. From there, you are going to get the data, right? How to configure this
Yes.
FTP server in Linux? How to configure NFS server? How to configure this Samba server? How to configure DNS server? Apache web server? How to configure DHCP server? How to Linux Kickstart server means this is a type of service which helps for remote operating system installation. Suppose you are having setting up a company. Think you are having 100 systems in your system. Company, you are having 100 systems. Okay, every system, though wanted to, you have purchased 100 PCs, you need to install operating system. it is the task of the administrator to implement all these things, operating system installation, give you login, right? Is that the thing?
Yes.
It happens in your company as well.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the system? Every system he has to go with a CD-ROM or pen drive, install there, come to the next system. Is it possible that way installing 100 systems?
No.
No, no. Okay. Thing
No.
is that he can implement Linux Kickstart. Kickstart server, if he implements, he will be copying the data of the operating system to one system and configure that as a Kickstart system. And he will create some configuration file, which is called Kickstart file. And just he has to go to remote system, just to boot it and give some variables. Automatically OS installation starts without any issue. Everything will be there. Partition it will done. Every application will be installed. Operating system will be installed. Whatever the setup or settings will, everything will install and will stop after the OS install. Is it not handy if you wanted to install operating system in more than one system, right?
Yes.
That is the thing. So these are the things. Bhupesh, I just gave you an overview of what we are going to study in this Linux administration course. Are you okay with this? Am I clear?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we can
Am
go
I
ahead.
clear? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Bhupesh, now just I gave you the overview of this thing. Just give me 5 minutes. We will start our class. I was actually waiting for others to join. They have not joined. I just call them one. Bhupesh, okay? Prashant,
Sure. Sure.
Prashant, I'm also filling you. 5 minutes. We're going to start our class. Sorry,
Sure.
because I was waiting for other people to join. They didn't join because this is a demo session. I'll just inform them. Okay, Vivun. You can mute yourself, Bhupesh. Prashant, you can
Sure.
mute yourself.
Okay.
Bhupesh, okay. Prashant, we are going to start our class. See, yesterday we have gone through these things. I will I will, Prashant and Bhupesh, we are going to see these things today. Okay. It is our first, okay. Prashant, I think you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Mute yourself, Prashant. Mute yourself. Okay. We'll start the class. Okay. Today class, we are going to see our first demonstration. Today's topic will be first OS classification, history of Unix and Linux. Okay. What is the history? How it came into existence? How the Unix came into existence? How Linux has also evolved? Next, we'll see the architecture and components of the Unix operating system. Okay. These are things we'll start. We will just have an overview of these things. Okay. What exactly, according to you, what is an operating system? Okay. What is an operating system? Operating system can be called as an interface between the user and computer hardware. Okay. Operating system is an interface between user and computer hardware. Why is this interface required? Okay. What is the purpose of this interface? because hardware cannot understand hardware, your computer hardware, printer or your printer, your audio video devices or any other thing just can't understand human understandable format language like English. They don't understand. Okay, there is and hardware is always a hardware works on a binary language. It is understands only one language, which is a binary language. Okay, binary language is zeros and ones. Okay, but I don't understand the binary language. It is very difficult to interpret a binary language. So how do I communicate with the hardware which only understands binary language? I need some interface which converts our high level language to binary language and binary language to high level language, right? So that interface is the operating system, which is going to take care of all this. It converts human readable or human understandable language to binary, and after the binary language is executed on the hardware, it gives us the response back in the binary, which is again converted to user understandable format. Okay, that is the purpose of operating system. Okay, so this is so we can it will translate a human understand language to hardware language and vice versa. So now we can say how the hardwares of different operating systems are classified. What is OS? Operating system. Okay, what are the different classification you can ask for operating system? Okay, Bhupesh, any idea what are the different classifications of operating system?
Sorry, bro, what is the
Classifications means how can you differentiate different operating systems? You got to understand what is the operating system now?
yes.
Okay, now we will come to classification. Means how they are classified. You can classify operating system in three formats which I have mentioned here. CUI based operating system or CLI based. What is CUI based and GUI based? CLI operating system or CUI based are actually character user interface operating system. And GUI based operating systems, GUI based operating system stand for graphical based operating system. Means everything is graphical. Windows is a GUI based. GUI means graphical user interface. CUI means character user interface. Okay, character user interface. So this is the first kind of classification. Second classification is single user and multi-user operating system. Okay, what is the second classification? Single user and multi-user operating system. Okay, what is the single user operating system? Is an operating system at any point of time only one person can log in. Only one person can log in and work. Okay, what is the purpose of a multi-user operating system? Means at any point of time more than a user can log in. More than a user can log in at a time, and each of the user can execute multiple tasks, not just one task. He can install, he can print a resume using printer, he can do his internet surfing and all the things, he can execute his project, he can take backup and some other things at the same time. Okay, and the third type of classification is client server and client based operating system and server based operating system. Okay, client operating systems are the operating system which actually installed on your laptop, desktop, which you are working from home and all. Server operating systems are the operating system which gives server resources like FTP server, NFA server, HTTP server, means web server, DNS server, DHCP server, Kickstart servers. These are server operating systems which give server applications which help to install server application. Bhupesh, you got to understand these things. What is the different classifications of operating system? Bhupesh, you're getting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I made a note of what is CUI, CLI, what is the full form. CUI operating system is character user interface operating system, or CLI is also the same thing, command line interface operating system. Examples for CUI based operating systems is Unix and Linux. You know that Unix is a CUI based. You have to give command. Linux also is a CUI based. You need to submit commands in order to do. Okay, but Unix is a pure CUI. There is no graphical user interface in Unix. But Linux as an operating system can be installed in CUI based and GUI based. GUI means graphical as well as character user interface. Getting? Linux is an exception. Though it is a server operating system, it can be installed as a client operating system, and it is GUI based as well as CLI based. It can be configured to be operable as a CLI operating system, means command, or it can be configured to work as a GUI based operating system also. right? That is the one of the main property or characteristic of a Linux operating system. That is why you are learning, right, Bhupesh?
Yeah.
Okay, now we will come to what is the GUI based operating system. GUI based operating system stands for graphical user interface. Examples are Windows operating systems are all GUI based, Macintosh, Mac, PC, Linux is also operating system which is a GUI based operating system. Okay, now we have finished what is the different classification and we got to understand what are the examples for the classification. Okay, OS classifications are done. Now we will see how Unix came into existence. Okay, how Unix came into existence. Unix came into existence like this. I just wanted to show you. See here. Now we are going to see Unix operating system history. Okay. Thing is that Unix operating system was not Unix operating system core version or base version came into existence way back in 1973. It was written 100% in C language. But Unix before the Unix operating system, precursors to this Unix operating system can be said as Multics operating system, which you have seen here. Second, Multics. Multics is a project which was conducted way back in 1965. Multics stands for Multiplex Information Computing System. What is Multics? Multics stands for Multiplex Information Computing System. It was an operating system project which was created in order to use the operating system for not a single user but multiple users. Okay, Multics supported 2 users. Okay, you can at a time the 2 users can log in and work. And it was created 100% in assembly language. Today's languages, high-level language, C, Java, Python are high-level language. But during 1965, the high-level. Just a second, Bhupesh. Hello, Ani. Hello, Aniruddha. Ani, can you hear me? Are you new to the class or you have attended yesterday? You can unmute and speak, man. You are Anirudh, na? Ani means Anirudh. Yesterday's Anirudh. Ah, okay, Anirudh. Anirudh, I'm just taking the overview of the yesterday's class only. We will start our today's class within 15 minutes. Okay, Anirudh. Okay. See, Bhupesh, Multics came into existence. It was written 100% in assembly language. During 1965, the assembly language was the high-level language at that time because that generation was actually having assembly language. That was actually supported only 2 users, and later came Unix, UNICS, the second precursor to this. What stands for Uniplex Information Computing System? What is that? Uniplex Information Computing System. It came in 1969. It was executed at AT&T Bell Labs, and it was coded in 80% C language and 20% assembly language, and it supported more than 2 users. Okay, but this also was dumped, and later Unix was created, which is the original Unix which we are using here, and it was written 100% in C language, and it was written by Unix language in AT&T Bell Labs by Ken Thompson. Okay, Ken Thompson was the creator of this Unix language. And this language is the core language. Though the Unix we are using today is not the core version. It is not the base version which was created in 96. It was modified and enhanced to the level of the current generation. This is the old generation Unix, first generation when the Unix came into existence. Okay. So this is how Unix came into existence. After Unix came into existence, the Unix operating system was then licensed to different universities in Europe and America for research purpose. And that Unix operating system was taken over, the original Unix kernel developed in 1973, which was distributed as license to universities and others, was taken over by different multinational companies. Okay, these are the multinational companies, and they have created their own, modified the original Unix operating system and created their own Linux operating systems. Okay, Unix type of operating system. AT&T Bell Labs, see the vendors and operating system which I am giving here. AT&T Bell Labs gave System 5 Release 3. What is the operating system name? Unix kind of operating system by the name System 5 Release 3 by AT&T Bell Labs, American Telephone and Telegraph. Sun Microsystem was a big organization which has taken the original Unix kernel, 1973 kernel, and modified accordingly and released as Sun Solaris operating system. Similarly, IBM has released AIX operating system, and HP has released HP UX operating system. HP stands for Hewlett Packard Company. These were the big multinationals at that time during 1980, and these are all actually flavors of Unix operating system. Okay. Okay, Bhupesh, getting what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, when these operating systems, these are Unix flavors, but the main difference between this original Unix flavor 1973 version and these flavors which have come afterwards, which were actually the flavors of the original Unix operating system, all the above operating system flavors like this, which I have highlighted here, all these above operating system flavors, which are from the original Unix, are client operating systems only, not server operating systems only. Okay, all are server operating systems only, and they are all CLI based. Getting? All are server operating systems and all are CLI based, means character user, no graphical user. All came in during 1980s. These are the different vendors who have created Unix like operating system flavors. But main thing is that all the above flavors of Linux or Unix operating system are character user, are CLI based, commands to be submitted, no GUI. Apart from that, these are all server operating systems only. They can't be configured to work as a client operating systems. They are server. And one of the most important point is all are hardware specific. You can't take the Sun Solaris or System 5 Release 3 operating system created by AT&T Bell Labs or Sun Microsystems or HP Unix, HP UX, and install it on your Intel based hardware. They need their own specific hardware. Means you want to buy a Sun Solaris operating system, cannot be installed on any other hardware platform. You have to buy Sun Spark machines, hardware from Sun Microsystems to install your operating systems. Bhupesh, getting? They
Yes.
are hardware specific. Hardware specific means you have to install on their specific hardware. You can't port it or actually install on other hardware. From the same operating system, same company, you have to purchase the hardware. And all these operating systems, though based on original Unix operating system, are all licensed. They are not free. This is the main thing. All are CLI based, all are licensed, all are server operating systems only, all are hardware specific. You can't install on other things. This is the main drawback of Unix operating system. Okay, main drawbacks of these things because they are highly costly, hardware specific, server operating systems, and are all licensed and CUI based only. Okay, now Linux came into existence this way. Linux started as a kernel by Linus Torvalds in 1991 in Helsinki University. This Linux kernel was actually taken from a Unix operating system, which was actually same flavor of Unix flavor, some kind of Unix flavor. This kernel was then submitted. This kernel or original Linux kernel developed from this Minix operating system, which is a flavor of Unix, was submitted to OSF people, OSF Foundation, Open Source or Open Software Foundation. And after this, these many other scientists and users worked upon it, created many user level applications, integrated all these things together with the kernel, then came the original Linux operating system into existence. Okay, main funda of the Linux operating system is from the starting, whenever the Linux came into existence, Linux is an open source freeware. Open source means source code is totally freely available. Freeware means no need of license to install or use the operating system. And this is managed, and this Linux operating system, open source and freeware, is managed by GNU organization. Okay, GNU is a foundation which is actually managed this Linux operation. Linux operating system is now being managed and maintained by these people. This organization sets the rules and regulations to be followed in order for Linux to be modified and all. Okay, now we will see What are the Linux distributors and vendors? Like we have seen, Unix operating system came into existence, and its Unix flavors which were created by other multinationals. Linux are also having different flavors and distributions. Okay, different vendors. The original Linux operating system created way back in 1994 or 95 was taken by Red Hat. Is a vendor. Vendor is a company which is actually releasing the Red Hat Linux. SUSE is also a vendor which released the operating system in the name of SUSE 10, SUSE 11, like that. Ubuntu is also a famous vendor of Linux operating system in the name of Ubuntu OS. Fedora is also a vendor which actually creates the Fedora operating system versions. Mandrake, CentOS. Okay, these are the different Linux vendors and distributions. Okay, Bhupesh and Anirudh, any doubts, man? Anirudh, Bhupesh, any doubt? You're getting what I'm
No.
saying? Bhupesh,
Yes. Yes.
you're getting
Yes.
them? Okay.
Yes.
I'm little fast. Okay. Anirudh, any doubts, man? Ani Kaleskar. Anirudh, you can unmute and speak. Okay, Anirudh is saying no, no problem. We'll go through. Go forward. Okay. Now we got to understand different vendors, and we have mentioned only few vendors and distributions. There are hundreds and hundreds, 100, 200 or more than that Linux different distributions. Okay, from different vendors. I have mentioned only 6 of them. Most of the prominent thing. Many obscure Linux vendors like Kali Linux. There are many hundreds of Linux flavors available in the current market. I have just mentioned only few of the things. Okay, now we will take the examples of Red Hat vendor. Okay, from Red Hat vendor, we are now going to take the example of Red Hat vendor, and we want to see what are the different multiple distributions and versions from each vendor. Okay, Red Hat as a vendor releases 2 types of operating systems from it. Okay, one is free Red Hat and second is commercial edition. Free Red Hat operating system is totally free to download, install, deploy. Commercial commercial editions of the Red Hat Linux or Red Hat vendor are licensed part. What is the difference between a free Red Hat Linux and a commercial edition of Red Hat Linux is whenever they are creating a new application, modifying any of the current applications, you are creating any new thing, they will first release in the format of free Red Hat. Means according to the free operating system, they will release as part of free Red Hat operating system. These Red Hat operating system after will be distributed to different people. After that, they will be debugged and made proper and then release them as part of commercial editions. Okay. First, it will be released as a free edition. Data and the bugs of the applications will be debugged, made it perfect, then actually released into commercial edition. Okay, that is the main thing. What is the difference between a free edition and a commercial edition is this. Free editions are named in the format of these things. First free edition was released as Red Hat 1, Red Hat 2, 2, Red Hat 9. After that, the free editions were renamed as Fedora 1 to Fedora 34 is the current free edition from Fedora. Okay. After these things, the commercial editions name started from RHEL 1 currently to RHEL 8. RHEL 8, what is RHEL means? Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. In our this current administration course, we are going to see administration in RHEL 7 and RHEL 8. Okay, we are going to learn same Red Hat operating system, RHEL Enterprise Linux 8 and RHEL Enterprise Linux 7. We are going to do our administration course in RHEL 7 and 8. And RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It is a pure subscribed Linux variant from Red Hat vendor. Okay. Bhupesh, I think you got to understand. Prashant, unmute. You're getting, man. Yesterday you didn't come, so I'm repeating. Yesterday you missed the
Yeah,
class.
okay.
You actually
Yes,
locked up because of problems. So I'm repeating all this for you only, you and Bhupesh. Okay.
Yeah.
Anirudh. Hello, Anirudh. See, I am just repeating the yesterday's things because few of the people are new. Within 5 to 10 minutes, I'll finish up this and we'll start the class today. Okay. Okay. So now we will see, because we are going to learn the Linux operating system, what is the main feature of the Linux operating system? Open source and open system. Open source operating system means source, software source, data source can be downloaded for free. Means operating system code can be downloaded for free. Open system means it can be openly modifiable. Doesn't need any requirement or permissions from anybody. Okay. Functionality, you can create new functionalities, you can modify existing functionality, add new command, add new device drivers, modify existing device drivers. Everything can be done. Open system means this is the thing. Second important thing is freeware. It is totally free. Third important thing is multi-user multitasking. Multiple users can log into the system, not just one, not just two. Hundreds and thousands of users can log into the server and they can execute multiple tasks. Platform independent, no hardware problem. Any hardware architecture, it works. Programming facility. I told you how to take automating the scripts. I told you how to, I just told Bhupesh, what is the purpose of taking automated backups and all the things. These are all possible using the programming facility, which is actually supported by shell scripting. Okay, online help. Any help you wanted to install the Linux, you wanted to help get any command, you don't need to go to internet and do the things. All the help is available online. Online means in the Linux operating system itself, man pages, help command, info command. You can get each and every help, even customizable and enhanceable. You can customize accordingly. You can delete few of the things. You can remove few of the applications or modify, change it according to your company's or your requirement, and then submit. Portable means it will work on all hardware architecture. And one more thing is portability is one more property of portability here. Suppose you have created a specific setup to deploy a web server. Web server in Linux is deployed using HTTP server. HTTPD is a package and it is called Apache Web Server. Suppose you wanted to migrate that web server from Red Hat Linux to CentOS. Just copy paste the configuration file and data files from Red Hat Enterprise Linux to CentOS server and just restart the services. It works as it is. No changes, no errors, nothing. No problem at all. This is the portability. Hardware type portability, software level or application level portability is also possible. Okay. Scalable. Scalability is the thing is that this same operating system, which is actually deployed as a client, can be scalable to a supercomputer also. Same operating system, same software. No need of changing the software. Same CD. You can deploy as a client operating system for a desktop use and also a supercomputer. No change in the software or operating system. It can be configured to work. It can scale to, it can be created to scale to cater to one user desktop operating systems to 1 lakh user server operating system. Okay, same software, scalable, reliable, not even a single second downtime. And most important thing is Linux is the most secure operating system you can find. Windows is less secure. Linux is more secure. How? Security in Linux is provided in 3 levels. User level security. What is the meaning of a user level security? Thing is that any only authorized or authenticated users can log in. No other person can log in without a valid username and password, without permission. Second is file level security, file level permissions and data encryption. Each and every data you create on the operating system is a file in Linux. Linux treats everything as a file. Even these devices, CD-ROM, pen drive, everything is printer, everything is treated as a file. And every file will have permissions. Windows, you don't have file level permissions, only directory level permissions. Linux treats normal file as a file. Directory is also a file in Linux. Even a device is also a file. But what is the type of file? Special files these are called. And every file will have permissions. So this way, the Linux is securing even the devices as a file with the file level permission. This way, even the devices are. You wanted to do any read-write operation on the CD-ROM. You wanted to do any read-write operations on pen drive. You need to do exact read-write operation on the file belonging to that device. Then it happens. So this way it is also securing your files and even the devices in the same way. Okay, this is not possible in Windows. third level of security, IP tables and dynamic firewall. Okay, IP tables and dynamic firewall is the third level of security. IP tables and dynamic firewall means firewall in Linux is called, which Windows you say firewall, na? That is equivalent to IP tables and dynamic firewall inbuilt. And these firewalls are up to mark. These can be compared to all the commercial firewalls in Windows operating system by Norton, McAfee, ESET. They are on par with those firewalls, and it is free. Okay, and second level of firewall is one kind of firewall is security enhanced Linux, which is built into kernel. SE Linux is built into kernel, very important. Okay, now we will see what is the main difference between a Linux and Unix operating system and why is Linux so popular. Okay, main difference is, first difference is Linux operating system is a CUI based and GUI based. Linux is CUI based and GUI based both. You can configure to work as a CUI and configure to work as a GUI operating system. Unix is GUI based. Unix is a server operating system. Linux is server operating system and client operating system. Okay, and moreover Linux is as powerful as Unix and it is freeware and open source. That is the main purpose. See here why Linux is actually more important. Fresh implementation of Unix APIs. Okay, fresh implemented means all the original Unix APIs were freshly implemented in Linux. It is a open source development model. Open source means everybody can access the thing, source code, and modify accordingly. Supports wide variety of hardware. Okay, any hardware, it is portable. Supports many networking protocols and configurations, and it is fully supported. Okay, you can get the help and support if anything is required. And apart from that, it is a multi-user multitasking. Okay, fully supported means if you have taken a Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you have purchased or license, it is very cheap, few thousands of rupees to get the license. Okay, very cheap, few thousands of rupees. After that, if you get the license and support, you can get the support. If you have any problem with the company is having any problem deploying, any bugs, any patches required, any updates required, everything will be supported. Very cheap. Okay, most of the time this is the main reason most of the people are migrating from the Unix operating systems, original Unix operating system like Sun Solaris, HP Unix, AIX to Linux servers. Bhupesh, am I clear? Prashant Satpalli, am I clear?
Yes.
Any doubts? Am I fast?
Yes. No.
Okay, Bhupesh,
No,
you got to
no
understand
fast.
everything.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, now we will see what are the components of the Linux operating system. Okay, Unix and Linux operating system, how it is made up, internal components of a Linux operating system or Unix operating system. Okay, these are the components. It is made up of kernel. Above kernel it is shell. Above shell there are application and utilities. On above all those things users are sitting. Okay, this is the component. Three components of the Linux operating system are kernel, shell, utility programs, and other applications. Okay, I will just show you a diagram of what is that. Yesterday we have actually done few things. Just a second. See here. As you can see here, OS, Unix and Linux operating system architecture, internal architecture. 1 minute, man. Okay, here. First thing here you can see here, hardware is the one which is actually what we are actually going to use this operating system for. We want to communicate with the hardware, physical hardware. It can be a printer, it can be a mouse, keyboard, screen, audio, video devices, any other thing. This is the one. It can be a network LAN card, anything can be a hardware. Above the hardware sits the kernel. Kernel is located here. Above kernel, it will be shell. Above shell will be utilities and other applications. Above all these things, users will be things. And that is not a single user. You can see here multiple users are also there. Okay, multiple users are there, which have only shown with the 3 users. Okay, this is how the architecture is. Now we got to see what is this hardware we saw, kernel we saw is okay. But what is this hard kernel, how it is working, what are its tasks, what is this shell, what is these utilities, and how these are all combining to give us the operating system functionality. Okay, that we will see. Now we will see kernel tasks. And one more thing, you don't need to write these notes and all. Everybody, you don't need to write these notes for first 2-3 days, because this will be forwarded. This document file will be forwarded to you. Okay, mail to you. So you don't need. From third or fourth class onwards, it will be mostly not theory like today. It won't be like theory like today. It will be command based. That time it will be very easy to understand everything. Okay. Now we will see Linux kernel task. Okay, doesn't mean that the kernel is only for Linux. Every operating system has got its own kernel. Windows operating system has got its own kernel. Unix also has a kernel. Linux has a kernel. Apart from that, Mac OS or other OS also kernel. Kernel is the core of the operating system. It is the thing which actually directly communicates with the hardware using system calls and low-level functions. Okay. Now we will see what are the tasks of the kernel. What does it do? Okay. First thing, kernel is one which directly interacts with the hardware. Kernel is the combination of OS device drivers and system calls. Okay. Kernel is a set of functions that make up the heart of OS. Okay. It is a logical mechanism of OS, also called heart of OS. Okay. What are the main thing is that task of the kernel is this is what makes it very unique. User management. Okay. Who is the user logging in? Success or no? Okay. What I'm saying, user management. If a user is logging in, who is going to authenticate that user? Any idea, Bhupesh? Prashant?
No, sir.
No idea, Prashant? Ravi, are you able to get it? Okay, 1 minute, man. Ravi, Ravi, you can unmute and speak once. Ravi, man, Ravi Kumar, can you please unmute? Ravi Kumar, can you please unmute? You are able to get it, what I'm saying? You are silent from that time. Ravi Kumar. Okay. Okay. So Ravi Kumar is not responding, no problem. Tasks of the kernel. User management. Who is going to authenticate the users? It is the kernel who is going to authenticate the users, login and all. Memory management. How the different RAM and other things will be allocated to different processes. That all memory will management, different applications memory management. How much memory to allocated, how to actually share this memory. This all will be taken by kernel. Okay. Whenever a user creates some process, executes some command or thing, first it creates a process. Process after creating little memory will be allocated to the process, and after that it will be scheduled to the CPU. Right? This is how the internal execution takes place in Windows or anything. Whenever the user is giving some command, he wants to find a directory or file using the file command, search thing. Whenever he executes the search command, a process is created for the search process ID, and memory is allocated. After the memory, everything is allocated. Process is queued. Queued means it has to be allocated to the CPU for the execution. Okay, which has to be executed, how much time it has to be executed, how much time of CPU to be allocated to this process. Everything will be taken care by kernel. Getting? Bhupesh, properties of a kernel.
Yes.
Because whenever you are creating a task in your operating system, example, you are actually wanted to take a printout of the thing and other things, you can't directly communicate. The first kernel, in order to execute your task, creates a process for it, allocates some memory to it, resources means execution resources to it, creates a priority, and then allocates CPU to the process, and the process will be executed in a fraction of second, and output is given to you. These all things are taken care by the kernel. User management, memory management. If there are multiple processes, how much time should I give to each process? Time sharing. How much time should the process get the CPU? that all will be taken by kernel. Okay, process management or process control, CPU management, how the CPU is managed, time sharing on the CPU, different processes to be allocated to the CPU, controls execution of the processes on the CPU, scheduling the processes to the CPU, everything will be taken by kernel. And one of the most important thing apart from these things is security management. You know what is the security management? Suppose you are a Linux server, you have installed a firewall on Linux. I just told you firewall in Linux is called, this is the firewall on Linux. I just told you firewall on Linux is called IP tables and dynamic firewall. Apart from that, SE Linux is also there. What is this firewall? Meaning of this firewall, each and every packet, data packet arriving to your system on a network will be scanned by this firewall application. IP tables or dynamic firewall. It will scan or take care each and every packet, data packet coming into your network, passing through your network, okay, to some application. First will be scanned by this thing, security management, kernel. Kernel has inbuilt module called NetFilter. IP tables and dynamic firewall use this inbuilt, are dependent on this inbuilt module. Okay, all the packets coming into your network and passing through your network will be scanned by the security IP tables or dynamic firewall applications in Linux. Okay, each and every packet will be scanned, verified according to the rules of the IP tables or dynamic firewall and SE Linux. If the firewall is allowing that application or packet to pass through, it will be succeeding and it will be passed through. If the packet is not matching the rules available in the IP tables or dynamic firewall rule, it will be discarded. This way it is protecting your applications, which are applications like FTP and FTP server, DHCP server, Apache server, any server. All the data packets pass through this firewall. Firewall will take care. Should I allow the packet to be passing through? Otherwise, should I discard the packet? So this is all taken care of kernel only, inbuilt into kernel. NetFilter is a module inbuilt into the kernel. This will take care of all the packet filtering. All the packet filtering is done in the kernel. That way it is giving me security. Okay. Security is also part of task of kernel. Getting? Ravi, you're getting? Prashant, you're getting now? Okay. Now we will see shell is the interface. Okay, Prashant, tell me.
Yes.
Okay, shell is the interface. Next we will coming tasks of the, we have seen the tasks of the kernel. Now we will see what is a shell. Shell can be called as an interface between, this is the shell. Second thing we are discussing here, this is a shell. Above the kernel, shell is sitting. Shell is the interface between the user and the kernel. Shell is a command line executor and interpreter. Okay, shell, whenever you give a command, submit a command for execution, shell will search the command in the hard disk wherever the utility is there, load it into memory. Okay, load it into memory and then submit the kernel or the command to kernel to execution. Then the kernel creates a process for it, allocates CPU and output is displayed. Okay, shell is a command line executor and interpreter. What are the main tasks of shell? Are these things: program execution. If you want to execute any command, any program, the first thing that helps in program execution is shell. Okay, see, variable and file name substitution is one of the tasks of the shell. IO redirection, pipeline hookup, environment control, and interpreted programming language. These are the tasks of the shell. I will let you know when we are doing our shell and all those things. I'll let you know what are the properties and how to actually check these things. So yesterday we have gone through these things. Anirudh, now we are starting our today's class. Okay. Bhupesh, any doubts? Prashant, any doubts? You can ask me. I am going to start our next. Bhupesh.
No, clear.
Clear, na? Now see. Today we'll go to the next topic of ours. Okay. Today we will see how do I, what is the, see, because already it is 8:20. If I start the operating system installation, it will take another 1.5 hours. Okay, I will show the operating system thing only. If operating system is not completed today, I will repeat this operating system tomorrow also. Okay, don't worry. Now we have seen thing. Now we will see. We will put the operating system installation, and then we will see Linux file system hierarchy. And one more thing I have to tell you, Anirudh and all things. So what are the minimum requirements? Minimum hardware requirements. For installing okay, what are the minimum hardware requirements for installing a Linux operating system? I'll show you that. See, these are the minimum of hardware requirements for installing the Linux operating system. Intel or AMD based hardware like processor, minimum. Pentium 4 processor, minimum. Any single core processor. Pentium 4, any single core processor, minimum. RAM is RAM, 512 MB of RAM if you are doing a CUI based installation, but 1 GB of RAM recommended if you are doing a GUI based installation. Means Linux can be installed in CUI based and GUI based also. If you are doing a character user interface installation, then you can have 512 MB of RAM. If you are doing a GUI graphical installation, then you have minimum of 1 GB of RAM. Hard disk space is minimum of 20 GB, 15 to 20 GB for text based installation, and around 25 GB of hard disk space for GUI installation. Okay, these are the minimum requirements. Okay, now we will see after the minimum requirements. Now we will see installation of the operating system. We are installing our operating system. We are installing our operating system in VMware virtualization environment. We are not installing on a server or laptop directly. We are installing our operating system in VMware virtualization environment. I think all of you are having idea about what is this virtualization. Any doubt you can ask me, Anirudh or Bhupesh or Prashant. You know, I suppose you are having knowledge of virtualization. What is virtualization? A single hard disk, single CPU operating system hardware can be allocated to 2 or more operating systems. Bhupesh,
Okay.
what is virtualization? Any idea?
Virtualization is
No idea.
allocating. No.
I will tell you. I'll tell you. Don't worry. See here. What is this virtualization? I'll show you. See, I am wanted to let you know what is the purpose of this virtualization and virtualization. What is the meaning of this virtualization? We are going to see here. See, I am having in my system, suppose even in real time or my own computer, I am having one hard disk. This is my computer. Okay, this is my computer. Think this is my computer. What are the different things for this computer? What are the different hardware resources? My computer hardware. Okay, one CPU, single CPU. Think CPU means single processing unit. Second, one HDD, one hard disk. Okay, one hard disk. Okay, these are the things. But on a single computer or a single camera, I can install by default only one operating system. Okay, only one operating system at a time. You know that I can load only one operating system at a time. Okay, it can be Windows OS or Linux OS. Okay, fine, it is good. We are able to install on a single computer, desktop or laptop. We are having one computer hardware, one CPU, one hard disk. All the things we are able to install one operating system. Okay, suddenly we have got a task. I need to install. Suppose suddenly my task has come. I need to install 2 operating systems. My task. My task is I need to install 2 operating systems. Okay, but what I have is only one desktop computer or one laptop computer. Can I install 2 operating systems in a single hardware, in a single desktop? Any idea? Prashant and Bhupesh, I'm asking. I am having only one desktop or one laptop, which is having one CPU, one hard disk and all the things, only one hard. Is there any chance I can actually install 2 operating systems? Bhupesh, answer. Prashant,
No
Yes.
idea.
no chance, na? No chance, right? Bhupesh,
No idea.
no idea. Okay. Thing is that my task is that I want to install 2 operating system. What I have is only one operating system capable system. I am having my task is I want to install 2 operating system. Parallelly, it has to work 2 operating system. But my hardware which I am supporting, which my desktop or the laptop is supporting, is only one single CPU, one single hard disk, where I can install only one operating system at a time. So in these cases, when you want to reuse or share your hardware resources between 2 operating systems, we have to go for virtualization. Okay, in order to fulfill our task of deploying 2 different or more than 2 operating systems on a single hardware resource, we have to go to virtualization. Getting here, after this, on this operating system, like this, on this operating system, I will install, what is this? Now I have wanted to install 2 hardware. So on this I will install virtualization software. Okay, I will install on this virtualization software. See here I will install virtualization software. What is the virtualization software? On my basic hardware. Okay. Virtualization software. What is the name of the virtualization software? VMware. Okay. On this, if on the same operating system, on the Windows operating system, if I install virtualization software, VMware Workstation. So on this virtualization, there is a chance. On this virtualization, I can simulate. I can reuse my this computer hardware, which is only supporting one, to work for more than. I can create multiple virtual servers like this. Okay, this is Linux OS. Okay, this is again Windows OS you can have, and here you can even install on the third virtualization, depending on the load, you can install Mac OS or Unix OS. Okay, and all the 3 can be booted at the same time. Bhupesh, now you got to understand. Prashant, what is virtualization?
Yes, sir.
What is virtualization? Bhupesh, thing is that reusing or using or allocating your same computer hardware to work for 2 or more operating system at the same time. That will be possible with virtualization. And what is the software which is helping me? VMware Workstation. This is the software. See here, this is my VMware Workstation software. Here I have installed multiple virtual machines. Here, these many virtual machines are there. In that, if you install, you can actually boot any number of virtual machines depending on the load on your system. Bhupesh, getting?
Yes.
So this is meaning of virtualization, sharing your basic computer hardware for better usability. More than one systems can be only on a single hardware or single resource, which can be allocated to 2 or more operating systems virtually, and you can work. That is the main purpose of, because in your computer you can install only at a time, boot only one operating system, either Windows or either Linux. But In case if you install virtualization software over your Windows or Linux operating system, Linux also supports virtualization operating system. There you can install multiple VMs, multiple homes, or multiple operating systems on that virtualization environment to create more than or boot more than 1 or 2 operating systems, or even 3-4 operating systems and work. This way you are reusing your hardware. You are actually perfectly reusing or sharing your hardware. You don't need to go for buying for these 2 computers, another laptop or another desktop. So you are actually sharing your resources, betterly sharing your resources. What are the resources? CPU, hard disk, and other things. Okay, Bhupesh. So now we have
Yes.
seen. Now we will see how to create operating system installation. See, before creating, we have to create a settings for the operating system installation. We have to create a virtual setting. This is how you get the setting. Install the VMware Workstation operating system. How do I install? Any doubts regarding installation of operating system, virtualization operating system? You know how to download and install, Bhupesh and Prashant. Bhupesh, you know how to download and install VMware. You know how to download. Prashant.
Oh,
In Chrome.
Bhupesh,
no.
see here. Download like this. Download VMware like this. Workstation. See here, just like this. In Google, you will be directed to download page. See here. Click on it. You can see here Workstation, VMware Workstation Pro. Here you can see Windows you want to download, click on it. Linux you want to download, click on it. It downloads. Getting? Bhupesh,
Okay.
this is how you have
Yes.
to download. After download,
Yes.
while installing, it will ask for a key, VMware Workstation key. See, VMware Workstation 16 key. Like this, you have to search. Any of the license key is there na? Any of the website you visit, there will be a license key. Install that license key and the workstation installs. Okay, Bhupesh,
Okay.
Prashant.
Okay.
That is how. After
Yes,
that, it will download. Just to click it, right click, install. It will install the install the VMware Workstation. After the installation is done, go to this file option. Here you can see file option. Now create a settings for the virtual machine installation. Next, select this only, virtual machine 16. Now select the installer where the ISO image of the operating system is there. You know how to download CentOS server, Bhupesh. Like this, you have to download the CentOS operating system. Download CentOS 6.7. See here, just enter download. You are going to download CentOS. See here, this option click. You are going to server. Where is CentOS? This is the Linux server. If you don't have the operating system with you, ISO image, you can download like this. Go to 7 version. Click on this x84 64, which is a 64-bit operating system variant. Enter. Here you can click on any of the option. Download will start, but it will take 10 GB of operating system download. It will take around 1-2 hours depending on your internet. After the image is downloaded, you have to select that image in the Windows operating system like this. Browse. Wherever you have saved the Windows operating system like this, select it like the CentOS everything and click OK. Okay. Next, then press second.
Yes.
Now the timing is, what is the timing? 7 p.m. batch. Okay, I have named the CentOS server as 7 p.m. batch. Here I am simulating as 1 core, 1 CPU, 2 core. 1 GB of RAM I am allocating to it. NAT. Just go next. Here you can give how much space you want to allocate for this hard disk. I am giving it as 120 GB. Enter. Next. Finish. Now the basic setup for installation of the operating system is done. How do I install operating system? You have to select the CD-ROM and just power on this virtual machine like this. See here. See here, it is asking. It is asking in graphical mode. You can see this is a graphical mode where you can use your mouse or you can use your keyboard stroke. install CentOS 7. Second option is test this media and install. You can select the first one. If you want to install the CentOS 7 in text mode, you have to give tab. You can give escape like this. Here you have to give text and press enter. Then the CentOS install in. What happened? Just a second. See here, now I am installing CentOS. You want to install here it is the graphical and Prashant, unmute man, mute man. Okay, here you can install CentOS in two ways: graphical mode, text mode. Here it is graphical directly. It is showing. If you want to go here before installing, you want to go for text mode installation. Press escape key. Then it goes for text mode installation. Now I am proceeding with the graphical installation. Press enter. See, it is asking press enter to begin installation. I have pressed enter. And don't need to write any notes for the 2-3 classes, and all things will be forwarded. This document will be forwarded to you, which is having all the notes and details. Ravi, are you able to hear me, man? Ravi, Anirudh, any doubts, man? Anirudh, I was not concentrating on you. Sorry, Anirudh. No, I able to see. Okay, no problem. This operating system installation, actually in my system being a i3 based dual core processor, it takes time because in background this video recording is also going on, because this video is recording from my system. It is very slow, my system. It takes at least 1.5 to 2 hours for the installation to finish. We will just schedule the starting of the installation. Remaining part we will be showing you tomorrow 7 o'clock class. Select the language. This is how. First is language selection. Press continue after that. Select the language, whatever you want. Now the installation summary has come up. It will take time. It will be very slow because recording is going on in the background in my computer, laptop. So my system is slow. In your system, it will be installed in 15 to 20 minutes or maximum half an hour. So first thing is date and time. Select the date and time. Here by default it is selected as this thing. Okay. What is the date and time? It is 25th April. No, man, it is 24th April. So I'm changing it. What is the current date? Time 2038. So 2038 is the current time. So I have set the current time correctly. Keyboard language support not fair. Here we have to select installation media as local media because we are doing it from ISO image. That is what selected. Software selection, here we have to take this one. See here, I told you Linux can be installed as a client operating system as server operating system. If you wanted to select this Linux operating system as client, you have to take this GNOME desktop or this thing, KDE desktop. These two as a client operating system configuration. And different applications for this have been selected like this. But we are using for administration purpose, I am taking server with GUI. So I am taking this backup server, email server, not many options so that it will finish fast. Okay, system administration tools, basic things only I am taking so that the installation completes fast. Development tools, okay. Print server, performance. You have to take in your computer, you have to select all the options. Here, because I wanted to show you finish the operating system installation fast because it will take 2 hours time. I have no time so that much, so I am taking less number of packages. In your system, you have to select all the packages here. Okay, don't worry if you don't select all the packages also later also after the installation of operating system, still you can install all these packages again if you have not installed. Don't worry. But for my system, I am only taking few of the things. I am only taking few of the things because I want to install the operating system fast. In your system, you have to select all the things. And don't worry, if you did not select also, no problem. These all applications are available in the ISO image. Later also, after installing the operating system totally, you can again install these packages if whatever required. Okay, this is what I have taken. I have taken server with GUI. I have done. Now it is checking for the packages, all that available in the CD. Now we will go for installation. Here you have to configure. I want to configure the partitioning and press this done button. Here we have wanted to do partitioning. By default LVM is located, but we will do standard partitioning. LVM will come later. LVM stands for logical volume management. The class will come later. So first thing we have to actually give boot. With 300 MB is more than enough. Boot, select that thing, boot, add mount point. Okay, now press the plus button again. Now we have to give swap. Swap is a virtual memory in Linux operating system, which is equivalent to 2000 MB or even 1000 MB is more than enough. Depends. And the third comes root, for which you may have to allocate at least 40 GB space. At least 40 GB space for root. Okay. Boot is actually showing as XFS. Select as ext4. You can even use XFS. Don't worry. These are the minimum requirements to install the operating system. First is the boot partition or called /boot, which is having the bootable files in the operating system, all the different bootable files, kernel and bootable files. Okay, different bootable files like kernel of the operating system, init ramfs, init file, all things are located in the /boot directory. Okay, swap is for virtual memory. Root is where the file system, Linux file system hierarchy like root, boot, home, everything will be installed. This is how you have to select the partition and press done. Okay, accept changes. Now you have see server with GUI is the application you are installing, and apart from these things, and you can even come to the network and host name here. Here you can give the host name to the system. By default is localhost or local domain. And you can even enable the LAN card. LAN is the network card, it can be enabled. But I am disabling this. I am not giving the host name here. After installing the operating system, I will let you know how to set up this LAN as well as host name manually. If I set here, it will be set automatically to the system, but I wanted to show you that options manually after the installation of operating system. So I am selecting the default only and pressing done. Now everything is done. KDump is not required, much important. So now I'm beginning the installation. See, it is asking for the root password. This is the root, is the admin in Linux is called root. You can give any password of your requirement. User creation is also important. This is the normal user, Rajesh G I am giving. And password is required. Password, anything you can give. So now the installation process will start. Man, Anirudh, any doubt, man? Anirudh, Bhupesh, are you getting the installation? This is how to start the installation.
Yes, getting.
Okay. It actually I have selected less number of packages for the installation to finish fast. In your system, when you select server with GUI, you have to select all the packages. And don't worry, if you have selected less number of packages from server with GUI option, you can also install the packages later. After the operating system is totally installed, also you can install the packages. There is no issue. Okay. This operating system, maybe installation, it will take not less than an hour or more, because my system is also recording the video of this of our session. So it is very much slow. My system is. But in your laptops, in your 4 GB or 8 GB RAM, if you are having in your laptop or desktop, it will install in 15 to 20 minutes or max half an hour. Ravi Kumar, man, can you hear me? You're not at all responding. You can unmute, man. Tomorrow we will see, now the installation will start. We will see this installation. Tomorrow we will see what is Linux file system hierarchy, what are the different partitions we can create, recommended partitions, standard partitioning, all this tomorrow also. Okay. And if the installation doesn't finish today, I will actually repeat the remaining part of installation tomorrow. Now see, it is showing installing packages numbers. It is also showing 15, 13 packages. It is showing. So to install that 1513 packages, 1513 packages, it will take at least my system. It will take 1.5 hours more. In your system, it will be very fast. Don't worry. Okay. And Anirudh, do you know how to clone? Anirudh, I'm asking. Anirudh, unmute and speak. Do you know after the installation operating system, this operating system, Anirudh? Bhupesh, this is a very important thing I'm saying. See, Anirudh, Bhupesh, listen to this. This is very important. Anirudh, I want to unmute. Please unmute and speak.
No, sir.
Anirudh, you know how to clone?
No.
See here, there are different virtual machines which I install for different purposes. This is 8 p.m. class, 1 p.m. class, and all the things. Why I'm asking this, after this installation, this 7 p.m. batch, which is the highlighted thing, it is installing. Okay, fine. But what if suddenly you wanted to install same operating system again? I'm asking, you need maybe needing one as a server, you may be configuring one server as a one operating system as a client. Like this. Here see, I'm having practice 1, practice 2, practice 3. You can see here, I'm highlighting na. Anirudh, I want to you.
Yeah.
See, installed after the operating system. Suppose this specific operating system is installed. Suppose you have set up, everything is installed. Suddenly, you wanted to reinstall the same, this kind of operating system, multiple things. Means same thing I want, but you don't need to again go through the same installation process again. You can here, see here, I am creating this 8 p.m. batch. Here is there now. See here. Right click on it. You are having a snapshot button. Manage. You can clone here. See here. If you create a clone, you don't need to install same setup and everything. Everything will come by default. Same as it is. You can clone. By way, you are actually saving your time and effort. Again, reinstalling for the new client requirement. Again, operating system installation. No. You can clone the operating system so that exact copy of that same operating system is newly created with a different name. Okay, that is one of the things you can do with the virtualization. Bhupesh, you are getting? You can clone the operating system using the VMware.
Yes.
So
Yes.
after that, if you wanted to install the same operating system again, you don't need to install all these things again. You can just give right click, go to this manage. Here it is showing clone. Just place clone over. It will clone the operating system.
Okay.
See, the operating system is installing. It will take another maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. Apart that time, I will show you other things like this. After the installation of it, how does it look and all things I have made actually. See here. Now I am currently here. This is the thing. This is the starting installation of packages. You can see here. This is your operating system installation thing. Next page I'm going. This is how to set the root password. This is how to set the user. See the installation process. Is this the installation process which is going on in the background? Okay. Now see, after the installation process of all the packages, 2060 packages which is highlighted here, if it finishes, I'm going to the next window. See, it will ask like this. Completed. CentOS is now successfully installed. Ready for you to use. Go ahead and reboot. It will ask for a reboot. Everybody getting? Because the operating system is taking time. I'm just showing you in the format of the pics which I have taken. Okay, what I'm saying is, if you are not after the installation finishes here, after the installation of all the packages, it will show you like this. Okay, this will show you like this. CentOS is now successfully installed. Please reboot. After you press the reboot, next screen comes like this. Like this. It will show the kernels. This is the kernel. First kernel is the kernel booting kernel. Second kernel, which is written as CentOS Linux. It is a rescue kernel. In case there is a crash in operating system, we use the rescue kernel. You will get to know later in the classes what is this rescue kernel, what is this normal kernel. Later it will ask for the license information to be accepted. Okay. Next you press. See here, this is the license information. You have to just select this option in the last line, click it, accept the license agreement here in the last line and press OK. Now it goes license accepted. Now here after the license accepted, rebooting, license accepted. Now the login screen comes. Here it is asking Rajesh Ji is the user. But I don't want to log in as Rajesh Ji, normal user. I want to log in as root. Root is the administrator in Linux. So right click like this. On that, you have to click on not listed option. This not listed option, if you click, it will ask for login. Here, like username. Press root, give the password and enter. Now it will show the screen like this. You have to select the language. English is a language. Select India English. You have to select. After this, now the operating system is up and running. This is how the server looks. Your desktop screen looks after the installation. Now you are logged in as a root into CentOS 7 server. Okay, getting what I'm saying? Installation is taking a lot of time, so just I showed you in the format of pics which I have already created. Bhupesh, is it okay? You're getting why I'm showing the pictures?
Yes, getting it.
Anirudh, the installation will take another 45 minutes to 1 hour. So our class time is also finished because now it is as good as 8:55. We have started at 7. We will take for 5 to 10 minutes now. And now I will even show you what is the Linux file system hierarchy and Windows file system hierarchy, how they are different. That thing I'll show you. What is the Linux file system hierarchy and Windows file system? Yesterday also I showed, but I'm showing it again. See here. This is how the Windows file system looks like. Okay, as you all know, C drive is the where the operating system is installed by default. If you don't select another drive, C is the where installed. Under C, you have Windows folder, program files folder, documents and settings folder. Okay, is it the same thing you find in your operating systems, in your desktop operating systems? Is it the same thing, right? Anirudh, is it the
Yes.
same format? Yes. Okay, this is how the Windows file system. See here, I'll open my own Windows operating system to show you. See here, the C drive, in the C drive, program files, Windows, and the second thing is users. Users is where my data is located. User files or all the things are located. You can click here. See, my desktop for Rajesh Gunda is my username. Is the admin. His own desktop files, document files, download files, favorite, games, videos, etc. will all be loaded here. This is how the Windows file system hierarchy. I am asking one question. What happens if the C drive gets corrupt? Anirudh, I am asking, what happens, Anirudh, in this scenario, if the Windows file system arranged this way, what happens if the C drive corrupts? Anirudh. Anirudh, what happens when my C drive corrupts? Data will be corrupted and you lose all data. Anirudh is saying data will be corrupted. Okay, fine. Erase or corrupted. Okay. What is the purpose of Windows folder? What is the purpose of Windows folder? Can anybody answer this folder which I have highlighted? What is the purpose of Windows folder? Bhupesh. In C drive, what is the purpose? What does it have? Bhupesh.
Maybe it's a backup. It was a backup for you can restore the data.
Man, what I'm asking, Windows folder in C drive. In Windows, you know now what are the Windows folder contain? This folder which I'm highlighted here. What does it contain? It contains operating system files. C drive, Windows is the operating system file where all the operating system files are located. See here, different applications or requirements for the operating system. System 32, where the system 32 drivers are all created. System drive, software distribution drive, this some plugin drive, web drive. These are where the operating system is installed. All the operating system required things are all booted, are all saved into Windows folder in C drive. Okay, and the C drive gets corrupted, all the Windows files will get corrupted. Apart from that, user data which is present in this users directory, this also goes. That is the main problem in Windows operating system. Bhupesh, that is what I wanted to tell you. Getting? When C
Okay,
drive
ma'am.
corrupts, all the data, OS data, user data, everything gets corrupt. What is the purpose of program files directory, Bhupesh? What does it contain, Bhupesh? Program
Program
files,
files, the program which we have installed.
install, user applications, right? Windows
Yes,
application,
yes.
not Windows, user applications, Firefox, media player. All these things are actually installed in the program files. Like this, if you open, see here, these are the applications installed. It can be a web camera, it can be another thing, it can be Google browser. All these things are application level program that will be installed. And by default, you cannot create this Windows files, Windows directory or a program files directory as a separate partition in Windows. Okay, you can't create. There are just a folder or a directory where you keep the files directly. They can't be installed as a separate partition, right? Bhupesh, can it be installed as a separate partition? C drive is there, and also partition which contains program files separately or Windows files separately.
No, it's creates automatically.
It creates automatically under C only or wherever OS is there,
Yes.
right? But Linux operating system is little different. See here, what I wanted to show you is this. How the Linux operating system is different. See here, this is the Linux file system hierarchy. The same way Windows is there. Now Linux will be like this. Under slash, which is actually showing here. I am highlighting the under slash. It is where it is called as the root partition. Root. It is called a root partition. Under this root, there are sub folders. Root is one folder. Anirudh, am I fast? Is it any problem from my side? Anirudh, I'm dropping. You said, is it any problem from my side? Okay, no. Anirudh, you can just join tomorrow 7 o'clock again, 7 p.m. Okay. See you anyway. Don't worry. Installation I'll show you again. Okay. See here in the root partition. These are the under slash. This is a root directory, boot directory, bin directory, var directory. These are all directories. And each root, if it is a root folder, which I am highlighting here, root, it is a folder under slash. This is called an inverted tree structure. You can see this is a root. These are the different branches and leaves. You can say the inverted tree structure, right, Bhupesh? Is this an inverted tree structure?
Sorry, yeah, what?
Inverted tree structure. Inverted means reverse. Tree structure. See here, this diagram. You can see this is a root. These are the branches. These are the stems, and these are the branches. Right? That way it is looking. Bhupesh.
Okay.
Inverted tree. How the tree will be there, man? What is the starting of the tree? Root will be there. Stem will come. Branches will come. Leaves will come. Right?
Yes.
This is inverted tree.
Okay.
See, root. This is the slash
Okay.
is called root. That way, understood?
Okay. Got your point. Yeah, got your
Reverse,
point.
inverted tree, reverse of a tree. Slash is come. This is the
Okay.
root. Under this root, these are the different branches, and for each branches, these are the ending. Root, boot. These are all the directories under slash. This can be called as inverted tree structure. Prashant, am I clear?
Yeah, yes.
So, like this, difference between a Windows and Linux thing is here. Windows is looking like this, na? Everything under the C drive. C drive is a partition. C drive is a partition. Here, instead of you can keep slash root as a separate partition, you can create slash boot as a separate partition. Okay, getting slash var as a separate partition. Slash home as a separate partition. Getting Bhupesh. If you are creating
Yes.
a separate partition, if the slash, this first thing, top one, slash corrupts, still your data is present in other partitions is still safe, accessible, right or not?
Yes.
That way it is better, Windows say.
Yes, better. It's better
That
than
way,
Windows.
see, when installing the operating system, we have gone through this one, see. I'll show you that, 1 minute. This is my operating system pictures. I wanted to show you just a second, man. I'll just show you the operating system picture. What you have taken the partitions, which I'll show you. This one, I just showed you this operating system picture. Here, when we are installing the operating system, See here. See here. See here, when we are installing our operating system, remember we have come to this window. Now just before we were installing operating system, we were coming to this window. We are giving /boot. See here. What is /boot? This one. /boot here. See this one. That is given as a separate partition of 400 MB. So second, next we have given swap. See swap 1500 MB. Next we have given / which is 40 GB. See here, this partition /40 GB. Boot as a separate partition, bootable file 300 MB. Okay, we can even create var as a separate partition. We can even create home as a separate partition. This way, we are protecting our data from corruption. Even a file system, one file system corrupts, data in the other partition is saved. Right or not, Bhupesh? Prashant?
Yes,
Yes,
correct.
yes.
Okay, see here. Now the installation is 12:50:61. Okay. Bhupesh, I like to end my class here. Today is already 2 hours. We have finished, we have reached at 9:05. Bhupesh, can I take the class tomorrow? Bhupesh, are you going to
Sure.
come tomorrow?
Yes.
Bhupesh, you are coming tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Prashant garu, etla undi? How
Yeah,
you are
come.
feeling? Class is ardhamavutunda? You are not getting anything?
బాగానే సార్ అర్థమవుతుంది.
ఓకే, డోంట్ వరీ. రేపు రండి, రేపు చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఫైల్ సిస్టమ్ హైరార్కీ చూపిస్తాను. ఇంకోటి, ఆ ఫైల్ సిస్టమ్ హైరార్కీలో ప్రతి డైరెక్టరీ, ఈ డైరెక్టరీస్ ఏంటి, పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ డైరెక్టరీ. రూట్ అంటే ఏంటి, వాట్ ఈస్ ద పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ రూట్, వాట్ ఈస్ ద పర్పస్ ఆఫ్ బూట్ డైరెక్టరీ, వాట్ ఈస్ ద బిన్ డైరెక్టరీ, what files does it contain. All this tomorrow we will take the class. And the operating system installation, he is starting here. It is take some more half an hour time, and I showed you after the installation how it looks also. This one, see here, after the installation, this all we have seen. Now the packages are installed. Now after the packages are installed, it looks like this. It will saw reboot. It will ask for a reboot here. After you click the reboot, next screen enters like this, where it is showing the kernels to be loaded. Whichever you select, next press, you will be asked for license information, where you have to just accept the license. In the last line, just tick it. After that, you will actually offer the license. Now we will be getting the login screen. Here you have to actually take the root login and login. And after that, OS will be shown like this. This is the OS. Am I clear? Is the OS installation clear, Bhupesh? Do you
Yes,
have
clear
any
till
doubts?
now.
Till now,
No,
if you
I don't
practice in your house, if you are practicing on a system 1-2 times, everything will be clear. Because I don't have
Yes.
time, because it will take, this OS installation will take another 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So I can't extend the class because already it is more than 2 hours we have taken. So in case you have any doubts, tomorrow I'll show, and you can practice this, because all this I have shown you. You can practice this in your installation in your home, in your laptop or desktop. Okay, Prashant and all the thing.
Okay.
I'm ending the class today. In case any doubts in the installation, you can raise it on tomorrow class 7 o'clock. Okay, see you. Bye. Good
Okay.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.